Hi friends, in this video I'm going to take one single verb and out of that I'm going to make one sentence, and using that one sentence I'm going to make 48 sentences. You might be wondering, how am I going to make 48 sentences? I'm going to use the tenses. Which are the tenses? The simple present tense, the simple past tense, the simple future tense. The present continuous tense, the past continuous tense, the future continuous tense. The present perfect tense, the past perfect tense, the future perfect tense. The present perfect continuous tense, the past perfect continuous tense, and the future perfect continuous tense. In all, we have 12 tenses. And in each tense, we have 4 sentences. What are those 4 sentences? The positive sentence, the negative sentence, the positive interrogative sentence, and the negative interrogative sentence. Why do we use the positive sentence and the negative sentence? If someone asks you a positive interrogative question, you are going to tell them yes or no. In the same way, you are going to tell yes or no for the negative interrogative question also. So what are we learning over here? We are learning how to ask questions and how to answer questions in the yes or no. But it doesn't mean just saying yes and no. Suppose I say, do you go to office? You have to reply, yes, I go to office. No, I don't go to office. That is the correct way of answering questions. You just can't say yes and no. You can say, but the right way is this one. You have to answer to the point, and you should learn how to ask and answer questions correctly. That is the main reason why I am asking you to practice the sentences along with me, so that you will be able to know how to pronounce words and at the same time learn the neutral accent. What I am speaking is neutral accent. You need to learn that accent also. Let me start with the verb. Mend, M-E-N-D, mend. The sentence is, we mend clothes. We don't mend clothes. Do you mend clothes? Don't you mend clothes? We meant clothes. We didn't mend clothes. Did you mend clothes? Didn't you mend clothes? We will mend clothes. We won't mend clothes. Will you mend clothes? Won't you mend clothes? We are mending clothes. We aren't mending clothes. Are you mending clothes? Aren't you mending clothes? We were mending clothes. We weren't mending clothes. Were you mending clothes? Weren't you mending clothes? We will be mending clothes. We won't be mending clothes. Will you be mending clothes? Won't you be mending clothes? We have meant clothes. We haven't meant clothes. Have you meant clothes? Haven't you meant clothes? We had meant clothes. We hadn't meant clothes. Had you meant clothes? Hadn't you meant clothes? We will have meant clothes. We won't have meant clothes. Will you have meant clothes? Won't you have meant clothes? We have been mending clothes. We haven't been mending clothes. Have you been mending clothes? Haven't you been mending clothes? We had been mending clothes. We hadn't been mending clothes. Had you been mending clothes? Hadn't you been mending clothes? We will have been mending clothes. We won't have been mending clothes. Will you have been mending clothes? Won't you have been mending clothes? Now we'll go to the next verb. The next verb is miss. M-I-S-S. The sentence is, kids miss their parents. Kids miss their parents. Kids don't miss their parents. Do kids miss their parents? Don't kids miss their parents? Kids missed their parents. Kids didn't miss their parents? Did kids miss their parents? Didn't kids miss their parents? Kids will miss their parents. Kids won't miss their parents. Will kids miss their parents? Won't kids miss their parents? Kids are missing their parents. Kids aren't missing their parents. Are kids missing their parents? Aren't kids missing their parents? Kids were missing their parents. Kids weren't missing their parents. Were kids missing their parents? Weren't kids missing their parents? Kids will be missing their parents. Kids won't be missing their parents. Will kids be missing their parents? Won't kids be missing their parents? Kids have missed their parents. Kids haven't missed their parents. Have kids missed their parents? Haven't kids missed their parents? Kids had missed their parents. Kids hadn't missed their parents. Had kids missed their parents? Hadn't kids missed their parents? Kids will have missed their parents. Kids won't have missed their parents. Will kids have missed their parents? Won't kids have missed their parents? Kids have been missing their parents. Kids haven't been missing their parents. Have kids been missing their parents? Haven't kids been missing their parents? Kids had been missing their parents. Kids hadn't been missing their parents. Had kids been missing their parents? Hadn't kids been missing their parents? Kids will have been missing their parents. Kids won't have been missing their parents. Will kids have been missing their parents? Won't kids have been missing their parents? Let's go to the next verb. The next verb is murder. The sentence is thieves murder people. Thieves murder people. Thieves don't murder people. Do thieves murder people? Don't thieves murder people? Thieves murdered people. Thieves didn't murder people. Did thieves murder people? Didn't thieves murder people? Thieves will murder people. Thieves won't murder people. Will thieves murder people? Won't thieves murder people? Thieves are murdering people. Thieves aren't murdering people. Are thieves murdering people? Aren't thieves murdering people? Thieves were murdering people. Thieves weren't murdering people. Were thieves murdering people? Weren't thieves murdering people? Thieves will be murdering people. Thieves won't be murdering people. Will thieves be murdering people? Won't thieves be murdering people? Thieves have murdered people. Thieves haven't murdered people. Have thieves murdered people? Haven't thieves murdered people? Thieves had murdered people. Thieves hadn't murdered people. Had thieves murdered people? Hadn't thieves murdered people? Thieves will have murdered people. Thieves won't have murdered people. Will thieves have murdered people? Won't thieves have murdered people? Thieves have been murdering people. Thieves haven't been murdering people. Have thieves been murdering people? Haven't thieves been murdering people? Thieves had been murdering people. Thieves hadn't been murdering people. Had thieves been murdering people? Hadn't thieves been murdering people? Thieves will have been murdering people. Thieves won't have been murdering people. Will thieves have been murdering people? Won't thieves have been murdering people? Let's go to the next verb. The next verb is move. The sentence is we move from place to place. Sentence is we move from place to place. We don't move from place to place. Do you move from place to place? Don't you move from place to place? We moved from place to place. We didn't move from place to place. Did you move from place to place? Didn't you move from place to place? We will move from place to place. We won't move from place to place. Will you move from place to place? Won't you move from place to place? We are moving from place to place. We aren't moving from place to place. Are you moving from place to place? Aren't you moving from place to place? We were moving from place to place. We weren't moving from place to place. Were you moving from place to place? Weren't you moving from place to place? We will be moving from place to place. We won't be moving from place to place. Will you be moving from place to place? Won't you be moving from place to place? We have moved from place to place. We haven't moved from place to place. Have you moved from place to place? Haven't you moved from place to place? We had moved from place to place. We hadn't moved from place to place. Had you moved from place to place? Hadn't you moved from place to place? We will have moved from place to place. We won't have moved from place to place. Will you have moved from place to place? Won't you have moved from place to place? We have been moving from place to place. We haven't been moving from place to place. Have you been moving from place to place? Haven't you been moving from place to place? We had been moving from place to place. We hadn't been moving from place to place. Had you been moving from place to place? Hadn't you been moving from place to place? We will have been moving from place to place. We won't have been moving from place to place. Will you have been moving from place to place? Won't you have been moving from place to place? Let's go to the next verb. The next verb is murmur. The sentence is, you murmur a lot. You don't murmur a lot. Do I murmur a lot? Don't I murmur a lot? You murmured a lot. You didn't murmured a lot. Did I murmur a lot? Did I murmur a lot? You will murmur a lot. You won't murmur a lot. Will I murmur a lot? Won't I murmur a lot? You are murmuring a lot. You aren't murmuring a lot. Am I murmuring a lot? Amn't I murmuring a lot? You were murmuring a lot. You weren't murmuring a lot. Was I murmuring a lot? Wasn't I murmuring a lot? You will be murmuring a lot. You won't be murmuring a lot. Will I be murmuring a lot? Won't I be murmuring a lot? You have murmured a lot. You haven't murmured a lot. Have I murmured a lot? Haven't I murmured a lot? You had murmured a lot. You hadn't murmured a lot. Had I murmured a lot? Hadn't I murmured a lot? You will have murmured a lot. You won't have murmured a lot. Will I have murmured a lot? Won't I have murmured a lot? You have been murmuring a lot. You won't have been murmuring a lot. You haven't been murmuring a lot. Have you been murmuring a lot? Haven't I been murmuring a lot? I'm sorry, I will repeat it once again. You have been murmuring a lot. You haven't been murmuring a lot. Have I been murmuring a lot? Haven't I been murmuring a lot? You had been murmuring a lot. You hadn't been murmuring a lot. Had I been murmuring a lot? Hadn't I been murmuring a lot? You will have been murmuring a lot. You won't have been murmuring a lot. Will I have been murmuring a lot? Won't I have been murmuring a lot? Let's go to I think we have covered these 240 sentences. Please repeat them after me. Observe how I pronounce the words and observe how I use the neutral accent. I want you to copy me and be speaking fluently in English. I wish you all the best. In my next video, I'm going to add 5 more verbs. You can click on that and practice 5 more verbs and sentences. I wish you all the best. Friends, you may subscribe to my channel in YouTube. To subscribe, please press here. Follow me on Twitter by clicking here. Want to follow me on Facebook? Click here to like my page.